What is going on? We are live for another edition of the Calcio Connection podcast, connecting with you, Italian football fans from all over the world. And wow, talk about fashionably late in the nick of time. Jerry Mancini, I just hit go live like 6 seconds before you joined the room. I told these guys that we got Uncle Sharma on, we've got Daniel Lucci on. I told them I'm going to wait for maybe 30 more seconds for Jerry and then just screw it, we'll go live. So you have impeccable timing, sir. So we got a full panel. We have Uncle Sharma, of course, who makes the best Inter videos on the planet. Follow his YouTube channel. We got our guy Daniel Lucci. Hey, Lucci, who are you writing for these days, man? I see your stories all over.
Yeah, I'm kind of all over the place right now. I'm a free agent, so I'm just, testing my waters all over the place. But a couple blogs, and I'll send out tweets later. You guys can follow along.
Yeah, and for those, I'm sure a lot of the people watching this probably know of Lucci. You've read his work before. You've seen him on this pod or heard him on this pod before. He supports Juventus, so we're covering a couple different bases today. Of course, Sharma and I are holding it down for Inter, who, a couple of hours ago finished up that 3-0 victory over Genoa for provisionally at least, because Milan and Roma are playing later today, but provisionally they go 7 points ahead of Milan, 10 points ahead of Juventus, who still do have a game in hand of their own. But Jerry Mancini is with us as well. Jerry, we did do a Lazio review episode yesterday. I will allow you, though, to vent even more on Lazio today if you want to. Tough 2-0 loss to Bologna yesterday. You feeling any better?
Same shit, different day. Same shit, different day, man. I don't know. The more I think about this game yesterday, it's just all these Italian managers are all stubborn, man. All of them. They're all fucking stubborn. Straight up, man. The word is squad rotation. I hate when I have to hear Lazio has no depth, man. I'm just thinking about it so much, and yeah, you can say you don't have depth when you're playing the top 7-8 teams. That's fine. And you have to rely on your key guys game in and game out. But when you're playing the mid-table to lower-table teams, there's no excuse why guys like Immobile shouldn't be resting in certain games. And if you lose, you lose. But you got to look at the long-term effect. You lost today, but the next 9 games, you're not having Immobile hurt. You're not having him tired, fatigued. And that's not just Lazio. There's a lot of teams in this boat. I'm pretty sure maybe Juventus will probably be in the same boat if they had a full squad. Inter has shown so many times not to rotate their squad, and look what it's done to them. They probably still be in another competition right now had they decided to use Eriksen in the Champions League and rotate him properly and not just elect to keep him out of 20 games. But that's the downfall I see with these Italian managers that just and I say Italian managers because that's where I see it the most in the Serie A.
Yeah, probably. I wanted to, before we get on to a number of different directions, I wanted to start fresh with the review of Inter's 3-0 win over Genoa, and I've got to pick Uncle Sharma's brain on some of these things. And I always get so impressed because every time an Inter match finishes, I log on to my YouTube like 20, 25 minutes later after the final whistle, and he's already got his post-match reaction up. I don't think there's any quicker and it's professional stuff, too. It's not like he's just going on there talking shit. Like, it's a professional breakdown. I don't know of any other channel who posts post-match breakdowns more quickly than Sharma does. So heading into this match against Genoa, I was worried a bit. Genoa, of course, can be a side that can give top sides problems, not too long removed from a victory over Napoli. And what I was really afraid of was that it might have been an Udinese type of match where they can just really sit deep and make it hard for Inter to find any shooting lanes, keep 11 men behind the ball. So that's why, and obviously every team wants to score quickly, of course, but to get the opening goal 33 seconds into the match was Barella played a nice ball, then a 1-2 between Lukaku and Lautaro, and Lukaku actually finished on the right foot this time, not with the left foot, which we don't see that as often. That certainly probably threw the defender a little bit off of balance, maybe expecting him to go back to the left foot. But, Sharma, to get the goal 33 seconds into the match, it's always great to score early, but especially for a game like this, I thought that was absolutely critical because after Inter score in the first minute, Genoa can't just sit back and absorb the pressure. They had to open things up a little bit to try and chase because they're trying to get at least 1 point out of that game. So I thought that was key. And, Genoa were probably a bit fortunate to be down 1-0 at halftime because Inter had a ton more opportunities in that first half, just had some poor finishing. I mean, Lautaro, Darmian had an opportunity where he tried to chip the keeper and put it wide. Inter really should have done more in that first half than they did. So, 1-0 up at halftime. Were you sweating a little bit?
No, I wasn't actually. This is one of those times where you can see the difference between this Inter team and other Inter teams. As you said, the mentality was right from the get-go. It wasn't, lethargic. Those early kickoffs sometimes can be, the pasta still in their bellies and they can be a bit, slow off the mark. But no, it was so impressive. They were just at it straight from the first moment. As you said, Lukaku, killer instinct straight away. First shot of 1 goal. It was so good to see. And Conte, you can just hear him. Now it's so nice to just hear. Conte at the beginning of the season, he sounded a little bit off. He was not as vocal, but now he's there. You couldn't even tell that. We're on a good run of games. That the way he was shouting on the sidelines. Every time to press them, to go attack them. It was so good to see that. That was one thing I didn't want any complacency, and I didn't see any complacency. Yes, probably we could have got maybe another goal before halftime, and to make it a little bit less sticky. But Genoa didn't create anything. 3 shots. I think they had the whole match. Inter had 23 shots. There was not one moment of worry in the whole match. And Handanovic, the guy could have pulled up, a chair and just be watching from the side because he had nothing to do.
Yeah, in fact, I was looking post-match at the stats, and it says Genoa had 2 shots on goal. I honestly can't remember Handanovic really doing anything. I mean, sometimes what counts as a shot on goal doesn't necessarily mean it's a great opportunity. Something else I wanted to get your thought on before we bring Jerry and Lucci into the conversation. Sharma, since we last had you on, may have been a month or so ago, things only continue to get better for Christian Eriksen. Not necessarily the man of the match today. I think that was certainly Lukaku. Barella was also very good. Perisic again, Darmian. But Eriksen continues to put in these balanced professional performances. And, he's only looking more and more comfortable since Conte started using him in a deeper role. As we've talked about on this pod, not only on the pitch does he look more comfortable, but he's starting to speak more Italian. He's smiling, which is, I never saw him smile in an Inter shirt until, the past 4 or 5 weeks. So what have you seen as far as him sharing the midfield with Brozovic and Barella? Because a big thing for me, Sharma, was, prior to, the January transfer window, when we thought there's a really good chance Eriksen's going to move and Inter trying to offload him, one of the things I can always remember saying was that he and Brozovic just couldn't really share a pitch, that it was like oil and vinegar, like they couldn't really mix and gel together. So what has changed in your mind as far as Brozovic and Eriksen not only being able to share the pitch, but actually working well together?
Well, if you tell me that Eriksen is doing, on the ball, I don't see much difference at all with Eriksen. I make those little compilations that I post on Twitter sometimes. You can go rewatch a lot of Eriksen performances. There's literally not that much difference in what he's doing on the ball right now. Obviously he's picking up different positions now on that left center mid position, and he goes, when Brozovic is marked, he goes get the ball from the defenders or Handanovic. That's the little tactical tweak, but everything, all the difference has to be what he's doing off the ball, and that's what Conte must be happy about with Eriksen now. Running wise today, he was, once again he was the top runner in the team, because he had 90 minutes. Usually he doesn't get 90 minutes, but I'm pretty sure if he would get 90 minutes most of the time, he would be up there with Brozovic and Barella, because he even before he used to be running, but as Conte said, it's the way he's running now that's the difference. So he must be putting more intensity in his running, or picking up, the marking must be better off the ball. There must be something that he's doing off the ball now that Conte is happy with, because on the ball he still doesn't have any assists this season. He still doesn't have a goal from open play. He only has that goal from the Milan derby, when he scored that free kick. So on the ball, I'm still looking for improvements in the final third from Eriksen. But off the ball, yeah, as you said, he's so integrated now. You can see he's smiling. The hair's coming back as well. That meme that was going around when he was subbed on against Bologna that went viral when he looked like he looked like he was depressed at Inter, and you couldn't blame him. But now he's joking with his teammates. He's high-fiving Conte, hugging Conte when he's coming off. Yeah. I've never seen a turnaround like this. This is even better than the Brozovic turnaround and the Spalletti, because this is proper U-turn.
Yeah, no, that's a great shout. Right before you said that, I was about to say the closest thing I've seen was Brozovic 3 years ago under Spalletti, but you're right. I think that this is even greater than that. So yeah, I mentioned Lukaku opening the scoring in the first minute, 33 seconds into the match. Inter had just the 1-0 lead at halftime. I always feel a little bit uneasy when you talk about missing scoring chances, and Genoa were a bit more energetic to start the second half, but Inter were able to get the goal at the 69th minute to make it 2-0, to make me breathe a little bit easier, put my feet up, exhale. And it was Lukaku putting an assist on a silver platter for Matteo Darmian, who finished it calmly to make it 2-0. And then the third and final goal was initially ruled offside, but then the VAR review showed that Lukaku was onside. His initial effort was batted away by Perin, and then Alexis Sanchez headed in a rebound after it touched the defender as well. So it turned out that goal did count, and it was, and I thought it was right that Sharma pointed this out in his post-match video. The goal scorers today for Inter, it was the Manchester United crew. It was Lukaku, it was Darmian, and it was Alexis all scoring. So grazie United for setting us these players. Jerry, I wanted your view on the match today, as and we were chatting. We chat a lot on WhatsApp. We're in a couple of different Calcio groups together, and I was a little bit uneasy, coming off of really good performances by Inter against Lazio, and then in the Milan derby. Now, there's really no excuse for letdown games for Inter because they're not playing in Europe midweek, so they need to treat every Serie A match needs to be treated like a cup final. But you still always worry going up against a mid-table club. Could you be caught a little bit complacent? They weren't complacent today. What was your view on the game?
I tweeted out that within the first 30 seconds when they scored, the game was over. And that was basically what happened. The game was over. I don't remember. The announcer said it perfect. All of Genoa's chances were from outside the box. They never really attacked the goal area. I don't recall an actual instance where Genoa was able to get a quality chance within range and test Handanovic. A lot of their shots were from like long range and quality shots. Don't get me wrong. That's what they had to get on net though. And conceding that first goal basically took away how Genoa plays, playing that very having that low block and trying to play off the counterattack if they can, or trying to take advantage of Inter's mistakes if there were any, which there were a few in the first half. I thought there at times there were some episodes where they kind of conceded the ball over, but overall Inter just looks really dominant. You're seeing the quality of their bench come on, and you see like Sanchez come in and make a difference. The fact that Hakimi didn't play today, he could have came off the bench if he had been available. You have Ashley Young that can play as well, who I forgot that even exists on the team. I know a lot of people
play at one point. I don't know if he can still play.
You know what? Maybe not 90 minutes, but he can give you 15 minutes off the bench. You know what I mean? Like these are you don't like him, Sharma, but when you have a midweek, hold on, when you got a midweek game next week, and then you got to play another 3 days later, a guy like that comes in to help you take away some minutes and allow players to rest.
But they don't have that problem, so it doesn't matter. Just leave them on the bench.
Ooh.
There's a midweek round coming up, though, right?
You're right. Yeah.
I
think
don't.
that's what he was referring to.
I just don't agree any time to play all your players the same, like 3 games in 9 days or 8 days. I saw it with Lazio. It can happen with Inter. You if you have the ability to rotate your squad and use other players when needed, I just think you should do that. The only thing I wouldn't change if for Inter is that back line, because De Vrij, Skriniar, and Bastoni is locked in, and anybody who thinks that Skriniar is not a good player. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna say names, but I don't agree. I love the certain person, and everybody's opinionated. Everyone has their own ideas. I just think that Skriniar is probably one of the best defenders this season, and I give two reasons why. One, he's adapted to a back three now. He played in a back four, can now play in a back three. He's a versatile player, can switch off. If Inter decides to go to a back four for 5 games in a row, it's suitable to him. And you have a player that can just adapt differently. And secondly, this guy here has really, I like the way he can advance the ball forward. Like, he moves it with stride. Like, he shows no nervous. He doesn't look like a player who's nervous. Every game, he just looks more confident on the ball. And even within the goal area, I think that offset pieces, he's so effective. And we saw that against Roma, where he scored that key goal with like 4 minutes remaining. And, you know what, any player who's able to accept that he didn't have a great year and put that behind him, and then the next year can adapt and become a better player, to me, that's a player you want in the locker room. And lastly, Barella, wow, man, like, I thought, again, impressive. Like, I always say that Savic is the best midfielder, and then I see Barella play, and it's like, fuck, man, like fuck, I don't know, man. Like, then he makes me think twice. Is Milinkovic-Savic really the best midfielder in Serie A? Like,
I would take either one, bro. I wouldn't complain too much. I don't think Inter would trade Barella. I don't necessarily think Lazio would trade Savic either. I think both clubs are pretty happy.
Rabiot, man, Rabiot's the best midfielder.
I'm not going to speak.
Oh, and on that note, I want to bring Lucci in. And listen, I know that Lucci is a frustrated Juventino. I'm not going to feel so bad for the guy because you've enjoyed 9 straight Scudetti, and you're not. And I'm not going to say that you guys are completely out of it either. I'm not going to be that guy who buries Juventus with all the talent that they have. So that's not going to be my shtick here today. Obviously, it's not looking great at the moment. 1-1 draw yesterday with Verona. We'll get to that. But Lucci, what was your view on the Inter match this morning?
Yeah, Genoa has been better as of recent, but they just couldn't compete with the amount of the talent Inter has. They're just running everything so smoothly right now. Lukaku's unstoppable. Good thing I have him in my fantasy team. He's been great. But Genoa, they just didn't look like in sync going forward. I don't think they had a couple shots on target, but nothing that would scare you guys. Marco Piazza, the guy on loan from Juve, was practically invisible the whole game. He didn't do nothing. But I kind of expected Inter to take this one, pretty easily. Genoa is, they're above the relegation zone, and I guess that's where they should be, and then nothing more. And that's probably where they'll end up finishing.
And Sharma, you pointed out, I think, on your channel, Genoa had a lot of squad rotation today, and it's probably because they have the Genoa derby coming up. So it looks as though they prioritized that match, probably saying, hey, for us, that's the bigger match. It's the more winnable affair. So with their squad today, now they did bring on Pandev around the hour mark, which scared me to death because Inter only had the 1-0 lead at that point. I'm thinking, oh God, Goran Pandev is going to come on and score twice. It didn't work out that way, but they actually, Genoa strategized more for their derby coming up than for this game, right?
Yeah, that's the biggest game of their season for Sampdoria and for Genoa. So they're both mid-table now. So I guess they're trying to finish above each other or see who can finish above each other. So it makes sense for them. They're pretty much gifted the win to us, I think, with their lineup, because that was not the strongest lineup at all.
So let me start with you, Sharma. I'm not going to get in the business of predicting Scudetti because I'm a huge mush. I feel pretty good today, but I mean, how important was not only the victory today for Inter, Juventus dropping points yesterday. For those watching live, you obviously know we're doing this before the Milan-Roma match, which is going to have a lot to say about the Scudetto race. So we don't know how that's going to pan out. If Roma can do Inter a favor with a victory or a draw, that would go a long way. But How are you feeling, Sharma, right now about Inter's position and the Scudetto race?
Yeah, man, great. 7 points clear of Milan right now. Obviously waiting on Roma, Roma. Hopefully they come through, do something, even though they have a lot of injuries at the moment. But yeah, 10 points clear of Juve mainly. I'm still saying Juve are the main, main rivals, the main challengers. So nice little gap, but not I'm not printing out the Scudetto shirt yet. I'm not, going on the Inter store yet to print out the Scudetto 19 shirt. Still lots of games to play. I think is it 14 games still to play? Something like that.
Yeah, I think this was match day 24. Yeah, I think so. 14.
Yeah, so plenty of games, man. Plenty of points still that can be lost, that can be won. So, but yeah, in terms of what we did today, mentality-wise, going out there, getting the job done, you're not gonna get gifted 3 points, so you have to go out there and earn them. So, very, very happy. Just need to continue doing this, not dropping, not underestimating any teams. Not rotating too much. Yeah, so I'm confident, but I think I'm gonna be after the Atalanta match. I'm gonna be whether we can actually win this, go out and win this. So if we win against Atalanta, I'll be more confident to say that yes, Inter gonna win the Scudetto.
Yeah, and that's going to be a huge test. I mean, Atalanta, not the most consistent team in Europe, but when they're firing on all cylinders, they are frightening, right? Mm-hmm. As we know, like if you get good Atalanta, there's almost nothing anyone can do, and it's very unfortunate. Like they had their first leg with Real Madrid this past week. It's really unfortunate. Freuler sending off at the 17th minute, because that completely changed the complexion of that match. I thought they would have won that match if not for that very harsh red card. And if the best Atalanta shows up, you can be in trouble. So Jerry, I want your take and Lucci's take on the Scudetto race. We'll get Jerry's first, because then when we get to Lucci, I want to use that to segue on Juventus. So what do you think, Jerry, about the Scudetto race as it stands?
It's Inter. I said it today. I said it's Inter's to lose now. It's Inter versus Inter. That's how you have to sum it up. How many points is Juventus back? I'll ask count.
Right now, 10. They do have a game in hand, so they still have the second Napoli match.
It means shit to me. You need Juventus to win 4 matches, and you need basically Inter to lose 3 or 4 matches. That's a very hard task. I'm sorry. They've already played Lazio, who they've beaten. They've beaten Milan. Mm-hmm. They still have Roma, but Roma doesn't count. They can't beat a top 7 team, so they're out of the equation.
Roma always draws with Inter, though. Like I've already penciled that in as a 2-2 draw. That's 2 points lost for sure. Always.
I just don't here. And then here's the other equation I said: Eriksson, Brozovic, and Barella. That's the equation of why Inter is going to win the Scudetto now, because Eriksson is being used and Gagliardini is not being used. Like it's that simple. I like Gagliardini because I like the way he hustles and how hard he works. But when you actually see how Eriksson now is being used properly and how he complements that midfield, it's one of the best midfields in Serie A. I'll even say even better than Lazio's now, because they have 3 quality midfielders. Leva is on a decline, so you got 3 quality midfielders versus 2. I was watching the game yesterday, and they were saying that 2. I think on Tuesday in the Champions League game or something like that, they were comparing Inter's midfield to Lazio's midfield, and those are like the 2 most formidable midfields probably in Serie A if you look overall. But I think that Inter is just like, that midfield is too hard to break down. And the only way I can see Inter losing it is if they go Pazza Inter and all of a sudden just decide to like concede it. Look, you got Perisic playing as a left wing back who has looked amazing this year. I thought he was great today. Come on, like, Conte gets shit on because he's out of the Coppa Italia, which A, no one gives a fuck about personally. Like, that's just how I see it. And B, the Champions League was never an easy task with that kind of group they were in. That was a group of 4 quality teams in there, okay? The Scudetto was always the goal the first 2 seasons. That was the goal. They said it plain out. So I don't see what the issue is here. How Conte is not a good manager. If he was a good manager, he would have won a trophy. He would have won this. It doesn't just happen overnight. He needs to build his philosophy, his identity, get his players to actually play a certain way. And you're starting to see this now in the second season. You got Conte playing his style and brand. And I think it was on Nima's podcast where when he said a good point, when Conte doesn't have the resources given to him and his back is against the wall, this is when you actually see the best Conte. And that is a good point that Nima actually said. When you give too much to Conte, I think he overthinks it and he starts to think too much. Now, with his back against the wall and how Inter now is in a situation where they don't have the money to buy players and to be more flexible. Now you've seen Inter, okay, well, Conte now has to think, okay, I have Eriksen on the bench. I need to start using him or else it's not going to work. So the fact that Conte is trying to be more flexible, more open on his decision making is really going to help them down the road.
I think you make a great point. It's like it's forced continuity, right? Because I'm sure that Conte in the summer wanted more players to be brought in, which probably would have meant more sales. In January, he wanted a lot more players brought in. They didn't make any incoming moves in January. Only Nainggolan on loan outgoing. Like I think about if Inter maybe had a more open financial book back in the summer, they might have actually sent Skriniar to Spurs, and brought in some replacement, Milenkovic maybe, and that wouldn't have given Skriniar the opportunity to thrive the way that he's been thriving. They certainly would have, shipped out Eriksen in January, which wouldn't have given him the opportunity to thrive the way that he is. So it's almost as if being forced to not have so many incomings and outgoings and so many moving parts has actually led to the players that he had having more time together, more time to build continuity, and it's worked out. And, another good point that our guy, Carlo Garganese, makes is that Antonio Conte is the type of manager that you give him one match a week, right? You take, and I'm not saying I don't want to be in Europe. I would much prefer if Inter were, competing in the round of 16 in Champions League, getting humiliated and bounced out of the group, fourth place, not even Europa League. It's embarrassing. I didn't want that. But the silver lining is Conte is the type of manager that you give him a full week to prepare for matches without the distractions in Europe. And the guy is absolutely lethal. This is when he thrives most. Mr. Lucci. So your take, and we'll use this to kind of segue into Juventus's match yesterday, 1-1 against Verona, and Verona obviously give a tough time to a lot of teams. But your take on the Scudetto race right now. Sharma said it. I agree with it, that I consider Juventus, even more so than Milan, to be Inter's chief rival still for the Scudetto at this point, because they just so much more talent and potential. I think Milan, no disrespect, they were punching above their weight for a long time. So how do you feel about the Scudetto race at this moment?
Yeah, I'm with Jerry. I think it's over. 10 points with a game in hand might not seem like a lot, but the way Juve have been playing, it's just not consistent enough on all levels. Milan as well. We've seen them kind of, like you said, die down or die off a little bit, maybe because of, they're playing Europa League. They got the midweek games, but I think it's Inter's to lose. Like you mentioned and Carlo mentioned, Conte's at his best when he has a full week to prepare. He has, his full healthy team ready to go a week later. And like Jerry said, unless Inter start dropping points left, right, and center, which at this rate, the way they're clicking, I just don't see it happening. My main concern now for Juve is trying to finish top three. Like we said, Atalanta, when you get a good Atalanta, they're hard to stop. They can score goals at will. We saw against Napoli, I believe it was last weekend or 2 weekends ago, when they put in 3 or 4. So that's always a tough concern. Roma, yeah, they can't play against the top teams, but somehow they're always in the top 5. They're always there, pushing for some points. And it'll come down to how Milan finished the season. They dropped Romagnoli for the game today, from what I've heard. And that's a big statement, dropping your captain for a big match, for the top 3 finishings, right? So yeah, our in regards to Juve's game yesterday, just wasn't good enough. Yes, we expect Verona. You know, they've put out some decent performances under Juric this season, beating Napoli. You know, stealing some points from other top teams. But they just, you know, when Juve went up 1-0, they just kind of sat in the middle, passed the ball back and forth, and tried to. They didn't even kill it off with, you know, great intent. They just looked sloppy and lazy, and you know, we've seen that far too many times this year. So I'm really not. And I said this from, you know, a few months now. I just don't see them coming anywhere close to Inter. Finishing top 3, top 4 is hopefully the goal and a realistic goal at this point. If it's anything worse than that, I would think there's going to be a lot more changes than expected.
Do you feel like lately there's just been an over-reliance on Cristiano Ronaldo and his magic? And I have, obviously, they've gotten some big moments as well from Chiesa.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the goal that he scored to get that away goal was huge in Champions League. I mean, that gives Juventus an absolute fighting chance, if not the advantage, to be able to pass through from the round of 16. But I'm not really feeling it from Kulusevski. Has he just been moved around too much? What's kind of your take on the attack? And Morata has dropped off recently.
Yeah, Morata hasn't been able to score, and he hasn't been able to stay fit for whatever his issue is. I think it's more flu-like symptoms or whatever. Kulusevski is, again, as much as I like the kid and think he has potential, you're expecting a 20-year-old to play out of position, you know, as a striker, which he's not known to be, which is another issue. And like you mentioned, the reliance on Ronaldo, I get it because of his name, because who he is. He loves to score, he loves to win, but he's just not that player anymore. And I've been saying this for quite a while now. You can't rely on someone like him, as much as a great player he is, one of the best in the world, you know, ever. He doesn't have that killer instinct anymore. He can't take on, you know, 3-4 guys, go, you know, run half of the pitch and bury one. You know, he's still taking free kicks from 35 yards out and hitting a wall. And it's just like, at that point, that's when it gets frustrating, because you have some decent players that can take free kicks and, you know, at least give you a fighting chance. It just seems like a wasted chance. And, you know, he wasn't terrible yesterday, but he hasn't been the Ronaldo that many fans are used to seeing, you know, in previous years at Real, or even his first 2 years at Juve. So I think it might be time to move on. And I know you guys, I've said this a few times recently.
Yeah, and talk about that a little bit more, because I know you've been tweeting about that today, and I completely agree. And this was, you know, obviously when Ronaldo's first signed, you know, 3 summers ago, people were saying this more for banter reasons, like, oh, you're spending so much money on one player, this is going to bite you in the ass. But you know, obviously 2 Scudetti for Ronaldo, but haven't made the sort of advancements in Europe that you would expect, because Juventus could have kept winning Scudetti the last couple of years without him.
Yeah.
He was brought in to be winning Champions League, and the results from that regard have not been there. And, you know, obviously no one predicted a pandemic and the financial strains that would come with that. But, you know, his immense wages make it even harder, you know, to add payroll and to make moves. So, you know, obviously he's sold a lot of shirts, and he's packed up stadiums for, you know, the times when fans were allowed to go to stadiums before COVID-19. So I'm sure that there have been plenty of advantages brand wise having Ronaldo these past 3 seasons, but from a footballing standpoint, it's not produced the results. So, I mean, Lucci, do you think that parting ways as soon as possible is probably the best thing for all parties? Because, you know, Ronaldo is going to end up on some other giant somewhere, you know, some other team, you know, competing for Champions League. So he's going to end up on, you know, another big club. And for Juventus, you can get all those wages on the books and actually spend. Yeah,
absolutely. As much as you want Ronaldo in your team, you have to question, is it worth paying, you know, one player $60 million a season to be on the team and perform well, but not perform as what you were expecting when you first joined, right? You know, you can blame Pirlo, you can blame the players, you can blame Ronaldo, but at the end of the day, it's the management who's made these signings. And, you know, of course, you've botched a few, you know, trying to save money on free transfers, and we've seen how some of those have turned out. And It just doesn't make sense to me to pay one player that much. As much as you want him in your team, you can't afford to pay him that much. And then, you're letting the other positions in the team kind of fall off and, just filling them with what you can afford. You'll definitely get a more well-rounded team with him off the books, unfortunately. I think that's something they really need to consider as soon as possible. I know a lot of people are probably not going to want to hear that, but it's a financial problem and it needs to be dealt with.
Just on that thing about over-reliance on Ronaldo, I just had a stat from Who Scored where it shows the percentage of contribution from each player for each team. Ronaldo has 42% of goal contributions for Juventus, which is the highest in the league, or after João Pedro for Cagliari, who's got 46. But Lukaku's got 30% for Inter, Immobile 37, Ibrahimovic 31. So yeah, Ronaldo's quite high with the 42%. So Juve are really, really relying on Ronaldo's goals.
And that's the problem. I feel like they're passing to Ronaldo in hopes that he's just going to be able to create something out of nothing. Like, you need some creativity in the middle, behind him, around him, and we've seen it at times with Chiesa. Like we've said, but you can't just okay, Ronaldo, take it, see what you can do, kind of thing. You need to have some kind of game plan that involves the rest of the team. You can't be relying on one player. It's not a recipe for success.
Sorry, I didn't realize I was muted. Jerry, I want to give you a chance to weigh in on Ronaldo, and you think moving on as soon as possible could be the right thing for everyone.
Fuck him. Sell him. Fuck that piece of shit. Fucking ignorant motherfucker. I hate him. Yeah, I fucking hate him.
Burn. Sick burn.
That's all I hate. That's all I got. He's not making them. Can't say. You know what? Yeah, he's not making them better. I'm sorry. I get that your stat, he has the goal contribution. That's fine. But it's what is okay, fine. He scores 47% of their goals. Mm-hmm. But how are the goals being scored? Like that, it's not like it's ruining their overall game.
I was just going to say, Jerry, what you're trying to say, he's making them one-dimensional.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the perfect word. And I don't see Juventus that scary team that you're so scared to play tomorrow because they have all these weapons in the lineup and they're going to really attack you. I think this team has a lot of quality in it. I think a lot of people who think that Juventus is on a decline, I don't think so. Personally, I think they're building towards the next decade of being good again. Every team has to go through their downs to go on their highs again. Yeah. You got Kulusevski, you got Chiesa, the back end, Demiral, you got Matthias de Ligt, two quality defenders who can really take the torch from Bonucci and Chiellini. I know you don't. Well, Cuadrado's probably basically out of the equation, but they want to renew his contract. I don't know why, but
another story.
That's a whole different story. But yeah, there's pieces there. I think
I agree.
The biggest downfall to this team is that they haven't signed a midfielder, and I mean like a quality midfielder who can move the ball. Like a guy like Barella and Savic would be perfect for this team. They need a guy like that who has the ability to be effective at both ends of the pitch. I think if you took out Barella or Savic out of Lazio or Inter, they're not as effective as they are right now. Seriously. I know that Lukaku has been tremendous this year, but tell me, how has Lukaku been so effective? Because Barella has the ability to move the ball forward on counterattacks. He's very decisive. He's very quick. His dribbling skills is impressive. Mm-hmm. And compare from last season to this season, he's matured. He's allowed to evolve his game, and him doing that has allowed Inter to be better overall. And like you said that everyone's trying to play towards Ronaldo, where Barella is not trying to play towards Barella. Barella is trying to play towards every player on the team to make them all better.
Exactly.
Which I feel side topic, he should be the next captain of Inter, and apparently has been reported specifically, but that hasn't been confirmed. But back to what I was saying, that's how you make your team better. When you see Ronaldo play, throughout his whole career, the guy never tracks back to help the defense. The guy never tries to make that key pass in order for his teammates to score. He doesn't do the extra. He's always played around good, great players that has made him better and allowed him to score. Now, all of a sudden, he's playing on an average Juventus team right now. Mm-hmm. And look how pissed off he is, and look how irrelevant he is. I would sell him. I seriously would sell him for whatever you can. Get the wages off the book, and you need to bring in that midfield first. Yeah.
Well, look at that midfield he had at Real. Like, that was one of the greatest, most creative,
the best in the world, man.
Right? Like, so it's night and day compared to this current midfield we're fielding. So, yes, a midfield will help, but then again, I don't know how many midfielders you can sign when you have someone on the books for 60 million a year. So you have to give to take, kind of thing.
You're right. But did it make sense to sign Kulusevski and Chiesa, who play both the same position, when you could have probably signed a midfielder for that kind of money, or you could have invested? And I'm not saying that it's a bad decision. You got two players that are good, but you can only play one or the other, right?
Yeah. So unless one of them starts playing on the left, they're both still young. You try to adapt one of them to play more left, more central. Who knows? But I agree with you. You should probably, on one of them, you should have looked towards, putting it towards an actual central midfielder. It's that I can't answer. I don't know why they did it. Only they know why. So,
well, I mean, they spent like 60-something million or 70 on Arthur, so I'm sure they've probably had faith in him, and his
injury hasn't helped. But he's been decent, and his injury hasn't helped us. But then again, you can't rely on just one midfielder. Like you said, you got to have a good duo, a good three of them that can work well together and complement each other's characteristics. So
you don't know too. I don't know too many teams other than like teams like Real Madrid probably who have three. Normally it's two. At least two good quality midfielders, and Juventus is not even near that. That's the scary part. And in a time where the pandemic now has really shifted of how teams approach the transfer market, it could be another summer of Juventus not basically fulfilling the needs of what they really need, what the team needs. And the fact that they have taken a big financial loss again this year, people say that Juventus is the big team. This doesn't really hurt them. They got money. I don't buy that, man. Like they've been able to be very well off because they've never had to go into their own pockets to spend money. And I'm just curious, if they take these losses consistently, will Juventus decide that we're going to go into our pockets and now start spending elsewhere? Like, their sponsorships have been able to help them.
The sponsorships are huge, but then again, it goes for Juve, and I guess for almost every team in all of football, even Serie A. It depends who's going to be, what money you have coming in from players going out and who you can spend it on. So I think everyone's kind of financially strained with the whole pandemic. It's going to come down to who's in and who's out.
No, you're right, but when you got Inter, Roma, Juventus losing upwards of even Milan, 200 million, say, compared to like Napoli or Lazio losing like 15 million. It's a big difference, man. I don't care if you're a big club. And then here's another point that Carlos said on his pod that I really liked, and I'll say it here, is that you're not going to see the same football anymore where these dominant teams were able to take advantage of leagues. All these big clubs will need to adjust this summer. I really do believe that you're not going to see the Juventus of the Juventus anymore, the Inters of the Inter anymore. All these big clubs will have to have a new strategy and understand that you no longer can buy an $80 million player like you used to. Like that doesn't exist anymore, and the approach has to shift.
So one more thing I want to go over real quick, and then I've got to cut the cake for my son's birthday party. Shout out to Luca, who he actually turned 3 yesterday, but we got my my mother-in-law over to help us celebrate with a little party at home today. I want to say thanks to the shout out here from Eric. we did talk extensively about Eriksen earlier in the episode. So if you just hopped in a few minutes ago, I recommend you check out the replay. But I will say we were singing his praises. I mean, even though you're not getting a ton of direct goal contributions from Eriksen, although he did do a great job to play Lautaro open in the Milan derby last week, he's been tremendous. He's reached an understanding with Conte. He's reached a lot better chemistry on the pitch with the likes of Brozovic, because I thought a few months ago the two of them just could not play together. Off the pitch, he seems happy. As Sharma mentioned, the hair's coming back a little bit. The hairline is filling out. He's learning Italian. He's actually smiling. And this is, it turns out the best midfield trio for Inter this season is the one we're seeing right now with Eriksen, Brozovic, and Barella. And, Vidal, it's going to take a bit for him to really play himself back into Conte's good graces. But the last thing, guys, I want to do before we close it out. Now, this is a segment where we all might sound incredibly stupid to those who listen later to the replay. But real quick, as we're about an hour away from kickoff between Roma and Milan, predictions. I'm going to go 1-1. Not sure who the Roma's goal scorer is going to be, but I am going to say Sanremo Zlatan is going to score today, because he wants to shove it in everyone's face who's saying, oh, how's this guy going to a music festival? So I think Zlatan is going to score today, but I think they'll share the points. Sharma, what do you think?
Yeah, I think because of the injuries at the back for Roma, they're missing pretty much their starting lineup at the back. So I'm going to go for 2-1 victory for Milan. And yeah, as you said, I think Zlatan, just to shut up the haters and all that LeBron drama that went on this week as well.
That's right. What do you think, Lucci?
I'm going to say 2-2. I'm going to say Zlatan with both, and Dzeko and maybe Mkhitaryan for Roma.
Dzeko's out 2 weeks.
Is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, then I'll go Mkhitaryan, and you know what? Give Bora Mayoral a shout.
It's a good shout.
He's been okay.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Jerry?
I have done zero research to this shit game. 2 shit teams, okay? I'll just tell you right now. You got Roma, who can't beat a top 9 team, like I said earlier. And then you got Milan, who looks like a mid-table team in recent time with their form and haven't not looked good. They didn't look good against Belgrade on Thursday. I don't know how the short rest is really affecting them. They don't look like the same team. So I'm going to go with Roma, okay? I'm going to go with Roma for a reason, because Milan doesn't look like a top 7 team. And Roma can beat the non-top 7 teams. So I'm going to go 2-1 Roma, and I don't give a shit who wins this game. Personally, I would care less. I would like to see a draw. That's what I want to see. I want to see a draw in this game, but I'll go with Roma 2-1. And I just think that both teams have overachieved this year. And the last time these two teams played, I think Milan were on the downfall and were very unfortunate of a poor call. If I remember, the poor officiating, and then the referee got suspended. But I don't know. You never know what to predict with Roma. That's the problem. They can have they have the potential to be a very good team. They just don't know how to play against the top teams. That's your fan going for Roma. Minchia. Hey, listen, you Mingiata. Listen to me, you fucking Mingiata.
Call him a chooch, Jerry.
Okay, I'm the biggest fucking mush that you'll ever learn, okay? Or me, sorry. Fucking, I personally, I hope. What I hope is, I actually don't hope it. I can't say it, but a tie would be nice. That's it.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll close it out on that note. Hey, make sure you guys are ordering at manscaped.com. You can get the perfect package. You can get the Lawnmower 3.0, 20% off. Shave that bush the right way, man. 20% off and free shipping using our code CALCIO at checkout.
You want to hear what I did the other day with my Manscaped?
Oh, God, I don't know if I want to hear this. What did you, do I dare ask? What did you do?
So I decided to have a Nutella sandwich in one hand and Manscaped with the other hand in my shower. It was the best fucking feeling.
In your shower?
Yeah, in my shower, man.
I mean, I don't know if I wouldn't advise taking Nutella in the shower, but Manscaped, yes. Manscaped is water resistant, the Lawnmower 3.0. So you could take that in the shower. I thought Conte might have manscaped his wig today. It wasn't the best cut, but he did something to that wig. Do you think that, like, if Conte goes into the barbershop, do you think that he keeps the wig on, or does he have someone like cut the wig when it's on the night table and then he just puts it on in the morning? These are the things that I always wonder, man. So make sure you use our code Calcio, CALCIO, at manscaped.com and get 20% off and free shipping at checkout. We'll say a huge thanks to everyone. Uncle Sharma, of course, you are prolific on the YouTubes, sir. Where can people find you?
Yes, Uncle Sharma on YouTube and R Shams on Twitter. And yeah, thank you for having me on, guys. Very enjoyable. Good to speak with a Juve fan as well.
And a huge shout out there to Mohammed, who's listening at 2:50 in the freaking morning. I haven't stayed up that late in years. We appreciate that. Mr. Lucci, where can people find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Daniel Lucci. A lot of my articles are at Vecchia Signora blog, Max Statman, or Juve Extra. And yeah, I'll reach out for sure.
What about you, Jerry? What are you working on these days?
I'm trying to figure out how Conte, who's the highest paid manager in Serie A, can't afford a freaking haircut. But other than that,
hey man, he's actually the cheapest coach in Serie A. He doesn't even get paid. He doesn't even get his salary.
Spalletti's getting paid, and Conte's not. They're paying Spalletti's payments on time, but not Conte.
So we need to change that narrative.
or Spalletti needs to Venmo Conte some money for a haircut, because Spalletti's not using the haircut money, so he can just send those euros right over. Oh yeah. Man. So and make sure everybody follows Jerry on Twitter at jmancini8. Make sure you follow me at Alex Donno. Make sure you follow the show at CalcioConPod on Twitter. We might do an Instagram page eventually, but Jerry hates Instagram. Jerry, will you run the Instagram page if I make it?
I fucking hate it, man. I hate Instagram with a passion. I call it fake life, man, because everybody puts happy moments, but no one ever shows you the real side of what's going on. It's all bullshit, man. Freaking the last picture I actually put on freaking Instagram was Sergei Milinkovic-Savic from last year, man. I stopped putting pictures of my family. I was like, fuck this, man. Yeah, especially if it's. And I made it private because I didn't realize, like, if you're public, people see what's going on in your life. It's like.
Well, that's the idea, though. Like most people post what they want people to see. Jerry seems to think, I've got to post on my Instagram, but I don't want anyone to see this shit. So I'm going to make it like I don't really understand why you have an Instagram if you don't want people to see it.
Oh, I have it for my wife so she can see like other people's freaking accounts. She follows all the Lazio players on my Instagram.
That's cool. Your wife knows ball. I've noticed. Like she's really good. Like she knows this shit.
Yeah, she
maybe get her on here instead of Jerry.
Yeah,
be on time.
Yeah, every time we've done one of these lives, like Jerry strolls in like 5 minutes past the showtime. I don't understand.
I was writing an article. I completely got sidetracked, man. That's why. I was writing about how Nicola Barella needs to be the captain of Inter. So I was actually pretty excited about it. But,
man. Well, great stuff as always. Make sure you guys check out our YouTube channel, Calcio Connection. Make sure the audio pods are also very useful. You're on the go. You're driving around. I listen to pods all the time in my car through the Bluetooth. So you can find us at any of the podcast channels, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Pods, Podbean. Just search Calcio Connection. Will come right up. We will talk to you guys next time. We want to do maybe at least two more of these in the coming week. So we'll talk to you guys next time on another episode of the Calcio Connection podcast. Ciao.